Hometown. Hey guys, Sean Gould here, out of the Carytown office, wishing you a great week. Pumped to get going into week 6 of the Plus One program. It's awesome to just kind of revisit this, to dig in, and to refine and define kind of what we're doing in our businesses. So excited to lead through our prospecting, our lead follow-up for this week. As we're getting going, I just wanted to recap last week's action items. This is a big one, guys. Accountability, as far as our business goes, personal life, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're working on, accountability is going to be the biggest thing to help you follow through and to help you execute, right? If you're not holding yourself accountable, you're not tracking what you're doing, you're not able to measure progress, and competitors, winners keep score, right? And so that's what we want to do. And so looking back at last week, week 5 with the open house, our action items were to schedule at least one open house for the weekend. Did you do that, right? Check the box. Say, I did it, I didn't do it. Maybe you got 2 knocked out. Maybe you did 3 open houses. Number 2, role play open house marketing script. Role play the buyer pre-qual questions, 15 COI, phone contacts, phone calls, 15 handwritten notes, 5 pop-bys, and then working on your client party invitations, right? So these are action items that we can keep record of, we can keep score of, and look back on the previous week and say, hey, I did those or I didn't do those, and look and work on following up with those in the week to go. You can make up time, right? We can get picked up with things that we may have dropped or left off for last week, but just be honest with yourself. I did these, I didn't do these, and that'll help you track your progress. And then when you start to see deals close and you start to, close and get some money rolling in, you're able to look back and say, oh, okay, like that, I met this person at that open house, or I connected with this person via that phone call. And so you're able to start tracking like, oh my gosh, the things I'm doing in the Plus One program are working, because I promise they will work. If you implement them and if you start spending time knocking those things out daily. So action items, let's pick up on those. Be honest with yourself. It's only going to help you. It's not going to hurt you. Just be accountable to yourself, at least at the end of the day. So week 6, let's jump in, lead follow-up. This is probably one of my favorite topics because I think it's honestly kind of the bedrock of our business. You cannot build a successful real estate business without dialing in on your lead follow-up. No pun intended, because dialing is a massive part of it, calling your folks, touching base with them. But just in general, lead follow-up is what's going to drive your business. I tell folks a lot as they're getting into real estate, working with recruits, people that are coming into the business, just got their license. There's the business and then there's the job. The job is maybe some of the more sexy things, showing the houses, writing the contracts, going on the inspection. That's kind of the job, right? But the business, what makes the money is the lead follow-up. What makes money is getting people into your database, following up with those folks, so then you can do the sexy things, right? The contracts, or the houses, do the inspections, close, and get paid, right? But you don't get to the job without establishing the business, and the business is, without a doubt, lead follow-up. So that's what we're talking about this week. Pumped to dive in it with you, and getting started here. Number 1, if you're following through with your program for this week, number 1 is defining a lead. What is a lead, right? Because there's a difference between having somebody's name on a sticky note on your wall at the office or home office or whatever, that is kind of wishy-washy. They're squirrely, and is that a lead? Is that not a lead? So dialing in and being able to define what a lead is. Maybe you've probably heard the term prospect as well. What's the difference? That sort of thing. Being able to define and have a clear definition of what a lead is going to make everything else so much more. It's going to make it more easy as you just sort through and characterize people in your world, in your database, in your CRM. The 3 ways that we like to define it through the Plus One program is someone willing to do business, B, their motivation level checks out, and then C, their time frame checks out. So again, you got this name, let's call it Jill Buyer, and she's on your wall, little sticky notes stamped up on your wall, and she's squirrely and you can't get her on the phone, and she maybe texts you back to be honest, that's not a lead, right? Because is it somebody that's willing to do business? Not really. Jill buyer doesn't really seem to care. What motivation level? They're not motivated. They're kicking tires. Maybe they're looking online at some stuff, but they're not that motivated. And then their time frame checks out. Jill buyer doesn't seem like she cares about moving into a house in 6 months or a year. So we move her, or this client, whoever it might be, this prospect, I would define her as a prospect, out of this scenario. Maybe you put it in your CRM, you tuck in, you label it as a nurture lead to follow up with every so often, but she's not ready to move, she's not willing to do business, she's not motivated, and then their time frame is just super long. So I would not define that as an actual like good lead to work with. But if you do have somebody that's motivated, they're ready to do business, and they want to get into something relatively soon, that is how we want to boil down and define a lead. And that'll help us as we're sorting through folks, as we're getting calls, as we're making calls. It'll help us to establish, okay, hey, I just spoke with this person on the phone. They're motivated, but they got some credit they got to work on, and they're 2 years out. It's probably not a great lead. Like we know that it's worth following up with, but we don't want to spend all of our time with that lead, right? So we want to be able to sort, classify folks. So number one, what is your definition of a lead? A, B, and C on that. How much would I be willing to pay for your leads? That's one of the questions we ask in the program. Or what is an acceptable time frame for a lead? I would say like most leads to me are defined within probably like a year period. Anything beyond that, I mean, life can change a lot in just a month, right? Or a couple months, but anything beyond 12 months, set it aside, classify it, categorize it, touch base with those folks, maybe quarterly, and just keep track of where things are. And if they move up on on their timeline, that's great. Then you can move it to a hot lead, or hey, this is an A+. Let's really get after this client kind of thing. But if their timeline is really dragged out, it's just not worth fishing and trying to track it down and trying to, because you can't really stiff arm anybody into buying a house, right? You can't really like force or pressure somebody into doing something. We want to be spending our time with the folks that are going to be the most profitable, probably the soonest, right? Bullet point A, sooner is better than later, right? We want to be working with the folks that are maybe a month to 3 months out versus 6 months to 12 months, right? And then we obviously, like as we get folks under contract, that is going to continue. It's a revolving door. Ideally, in our businesses, we're building business, following up with leads. We get folks, we get them under contract, we close them, as time kind of progresses. Bullet point B, veterans in the business will probably tolerate a shorter time frame than rookies. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to spend time on folks that are we're in the business to make money, right? You may like people, you might have different reasons why you get into real estate. But at the end of the day, you want to make money, you want to make good money, a lot of money in real estate. It's there to be had. Plenty of real estate to sell in Richmond, the greater Richmond market. Having an idea, sorting through, you'll notice that the folks that have been in real estate the longest, the folks that really know what's going on, they're probably able to tolerate time frames better than somebody that's brand new. Maybe that's because they're able to say no to some folks because they have more established, they have more business going on. But at the end of the day, being able to categorize and spend your time wisely is a big piece of lead follow-up. Bullet point C, outside of 1 year is too long unless there are specific conditions. Again, maybe a lead is new construction, but ideally you'd get them under contract, break ground, and then hey, 9 months to a year, I'm getting a paycheck. That's already defined. So those are longer time frame leads, but those are a little bit more established, again, with a contract. Hey, they're buying RCI, they're building, and I've got them locked in. Versus like, hey, I met this person at an open house and they're 24 months out. That's going to be a hard time frame to work with. So you'll again kind of tuck them, categorize them, and follow up with them. But we want to be spending time with folks that are ideally more 3 to 4 month period. So how do we determine a seller's time frame or a buyer's time frame? How can we flesh out the truth? Ideally, as we're following up with leads, we want to be asking questions. We want to be filtering and screening folks to help us have a better understanding of where they are, motivation level, how willing they are, how ready they are, and their ability to close on a deal. As we're asking questions, it's helpful to not pry or necessarily like force them into a corner, because you want them to believe and know that, hey, I like Sean, I trust Sean, Sean's good at what he does. We can convey that, build rapport with folks by asking leading questions. Hey, does it make sense for us to talk about you moving in the next 3 to 6 months? Or, hey, does it make sense for us to set up that MLS search? Or, hey, does it make sense to, sit down at your house and talk through what options you have? Or, hey, does it make sense for us to just chat through your home value? Are you interested in getting your house sold? That way, we're not just calling folks and saying, hey, I'm just following up, or hey, I'm just checking in. That's a very... they might get calls from people all the time just saying, hey, I'm just following up about this insurance, or hey, I'm just following up about your financials, setup. When we're able to kind of drive the conversation in such a way that we're able to guide them through, hey, what are your pain points? What do you need? Well, I really need an extra bedroom, or hey, we've got to have a bigger kitchen, or hey, we need another, we got in-laws getting a little older, want to get an in-law suite, get them in here for a little bit to help out with the grandkids. Then we're finding out the pain points, because from there we can then drive, hey, oh, okay, that's great. That's going to be the motivating factor. Let's talk a little bit more about that and see where that can lead us. So asking questions is huge, right? In regards to the seller conversation, as you're working through trying to get more listings, we obviously know listings win 100% of the time in this market in Richmond right now, just with inventory so low. And then just in general, listings, obviously, list to last. We've heard it probably so much, as being around the real estate world. But if somebody says, hey, I need to do something in the next 6 months, or hey, I need to move in the next 3 months, or I need to do this at the house, but we're ready to kind of rock and roll. When do we follow up? How do we follow up with sellers? I was talking with somebody on the phone today, and I vocalized to them that I'd always rather over-communicate than under-communicate, right? So I don't think sellers or buyers or any of the clients that we work for the most part, are ever going to give us a call back or text and say, dude, I hear from you way too much. If anything, I think our clients and people in general probably just don't hear from us enough, right? And so ideally, we're following up, having touch points, communicating to folks that we know the market, that we're the experts, that we're constantly getting a pulse, and then we're relaying that to them as we're building rapport with them and following up with them. Bullet point B there, the question, if they tell us they want to do something in 6 months, when do we follow up? No later than 3 to 4 months, right? But I would even say, I would go farther than that and say, like, if somebody's told you they're going to list or they're ready to sell and they need to move in 6 months, I mean, one, you got to lock in the listing appointment. You might even want to lock in a listing agreement. You can always temporarily withdraw it just to get kind of that signature, to kind of lock in that relationship, to kind of lock in that loyalty. But at the end of the day, I would be following up fairly often. I know in this program we've got 3 to 4 months, but I would almost maybe say touch base more like once a month. Again, over communicate. Even if it's just like, hey, here's a quick little CMA to, hey, market changed maybe just a little bit since we last chatted, or hey, this house went up, or hey, I saw that. That way you're building rapport and you're providing value, but you're also staying top of mind for them. How do we determine the client's motivation? Again, ask questions and listen, figure out the pain points, because then you can provide the solution. I think that's the biggest thing we can do in our jobs, is understand somebody's pain points so that we can then provide them with a clear solution to what they to their problem, and we can help them kind of get through the finish line on what they need. And that makes us, to be honest, makes us look like the hero. But really, it's just good listening, right? Good communication. If you flip over next page here, week 6, we look at the motivation scale, and obviously up to the right is going to be the ideal client. That's going to be the ready, willing, and able client that literally has to move next week. That's obviously where we're going to be most profitable. That's going to be where we want to spend the most amount of our time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we always get to be there or live there, right? There might be clients and folks that we're working with that are more bottom left of of the scale. We would be willing to test the market. They're kind of kicking the tires. That to me shows that they're not super motivated. Maybe they're willing, maybe they're able, but we got to work on that motivation piece. And then again, as you transition up or right of that scale, those are the folks that are ready to go next week. They're willing to go next week, and they're able. And these are the folks you're going to be in the car with, showing houses to, or folks that you're, getting photos for, getting a box on the door, and getting a sign in the yard. So a couple things to think through. Again, you can use these tools, the scale, to help land prospects and leads in your business and at your database as you're kind of categorizing people. Another question that we get a lot, or you'll probably hear plenty, is, hey, where do we want to spend our time on that scale? Where do we commit to? Who's worth pursuing? That sort of thing. When you're brand new in the business, you really just kind of scrape around for what you can get, right? You really just try to go anywhere to try to get a deal. The longer you're in, the more successful you become, the more selective you might be able to be with certain clients, sort of thing. But ideally, we want to be targeting that right side of the scale. Again, asking lots of questions to figure out what their pain points are, what's going to motivate them, and then you can really appeal to that as you're trying to move them from ready, willing, and able to, hey, we got to close deal in 3-4 weeks kind of thing. A couple other questions that we've kind of targeted a little bit is, what is better, lots of leads, a few good leads? How can we be sure somebody's telling the truth? I think at the end of the day, the scale at the top of the sheet, you can think about it also as like A+, A-, A, B+, B, B-. You can grade your folks on kind of the lead scale on who's the best person to follow up with, who's my best referral source. All of that's going to help us fine-tune and refine our business in such a way that we're making the most of our time, because our time is money. Our time is so valuable. A few good leads is going to be better than a lot of squirrely leads. So being able to, again, define, kind of dial in on who the people are is going to just be more profitable. And you're going to keep your sanity, at the end of the day. Like, we might be in real estate because we love people or relationships, but there are some knuckleheaded clients that we work with, some folks that are just downright tough to be around. And navigating those relationships, when we understand the dynamic of our clients in our database, we can know where, again, to spend time. Kind of rocking and rolling through here. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff, so just spend some time here reading through it as well. But a couple bullet points, 4 and 5. If most of leads are mediocre, the urgency for doing lead follow-up diminishes. I mean, you're just going to get disappointed. You're going to get, if it's tiring, if you feel like everybody's just kind of wasting your time, your motivation and your own energy is going to diminish. And so again, we want to be able to categorize and sort through leads so that we know where to give our time, who to give our time to. Huge waste of time equals calling and tracking people who are not moving. I would say, like, wholeheartedly, and I think this actually comes up a little later at the bottom of the page, but don't be afraid to move a lead to nurture status or to just kind of long-term status, because, trash it, retire that lead, because, again, we want to spend time. We want to be productive and valuable with our time. And so just chasing time and calling and tracking people who are just not moving, it's not going to be great for a business or insanity, that sort of thing. So I think we'll get to that later. I'll speak more to that at that point. How do we organize and track our leads? Hey, do we keep them in our heads? No, that's a terrible idea, because you'll forget. Do we write somebody down on a sticky note? No, that's bad. Do we just track leads by giving out business cards? No, that's a terrible way to build business, because you'll never, most likely 99.9% of the time, you won't get a call back. Get folks' contact info, put them in your database, categorize them, follow up with them. Best way is going to be your computer or your laptop or whatever your device is. have a CRM, whether it's Buffini, whether it's Follow Up Boss, Excel. I don't really care, whatever floats your boat, but have something that you can track your business, you can track your leads, you can track who you work with, and categorize that, refine it, keep coming back to it time and time again. A lot of the new CRMs, they're like, $25, $50 a month, which, hey, that's, get into the business or something like that. That's money that, you might not feel comfortable spending, but I think invest in that, because that's actually what's going to help you the most. And so I think getting that set up is going to be huge. Buffini, again, Follow Up Boss. There's a lot of awesome ones out there. It doesn't matter what it is. Just get it set up and then just execute, follow up. Just like our action items every week. Follow up with your action items. Follow up with your homework, because that's the execution piece. That's the follow through. There are positives and negatives to any method, whether it's Buffini or, if it's just Excel, or if you're just writing it down on a piece of paper. I mean, there's pros and cons, but at the end of the day, you got to get something implemented for you to be able to track your business, to be able to track your leads, to be able to follow up with folks. You got any questions about Buffini? You got any questions about Follow Up Boss? There's Lion Desk. There's a bunch out there, great CRMs. Again, just find one that works and just go with it and follow up with your people. Categorize them, work through them. What is the most important tool in lead follow-up? This is one I mentioned earlier, but the trash can. Don't be afraid to toss the bad ones. They're just leeches. If they're just going to take your time and your energy, it's just not worth it. What is the ultimate goal in lead follow-up? To call all of my leads at the exact moment they are ready to do something. I think the more that we're following up with folks, the more we're top of mind, the more we're going to have the conversation where somebody says, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you reached out. I was just thinking about this, right? But if we never reach out, if we're never communicating, then we're going to miss the opportunity, and somebody else is going to be the one making that call or shooting that text or that email or writing that note when the time is right. So the more that we're top of mind with folks, the better chance we have that when they go through with it, when they follow through with listing or, wanting to get in the market to buy something, they think of, oh, I got to reach out to Sean. Is it better to overcall or undercall? Overcall, I mentioned that earlier. It's just never a bad idea. I've never had somebody say, hey, you reach out too much. What do you say? How do you follow up with people? What's a good thing to think about as you're following up folks? I think just in general, come up with your scripts. There's a lot in Plus One. There's also a bunch out there, whether it's Tom Ferry or Buffini or just other coaching platforms. Get your lingo and get your language and your scripts nailed down. Practice those. I mean, that's part of our action items each week is to do role play, right? To get your scripts nailed down so you know how to speak, you know how to communicate. One of the things we have here in this week's script is, hey, John, this is Sean Gould. Are you still planning on buying a house? Great. Let's get together at 8 tonight and start the process, for a seller, change buying to selling, that sort of thing. What if they give an unclear response? Clarify by asking more questions, that sort of thing. Again, this is where role play is huge as you're defining how to handle objections, as you're figuring out how to communicate, find pain points, provide solutions, reading people's personalities. Dean's got an awesome class on that. I know we've got that recorded somewhere. All of this is going to be, the more we talk real estate, the more that we're in that world and having conversations, the just better we are going to be at conveying and communicating with folks. So a couple final points as we're wrapping up here. Number one, since we all have the same leads, you better call them now. If you're not calling them, somebody else is. Motivated people love attention. Call your leads. Just because someone is nice to you, it doesn't mean they are leads. Create standards for your leads and honor them. Again, you might be really good friends with somebody, but they're just a bad lead. Like, they're just not ready to move. They're not willing to move. They're not motivated, not able. It's okay. Classify them, move them around, do whatever. Number 4, don't forget to use the email notification through MLS. Get folks set up on MLS. You can set it to so it'll ping you and it'll notify you when you send an email to another client. Then you can follow up with a text or call and say, hey, did you get my new listing through MLS? Just want to see what you thought about it. There's ways to follow up with folks. Don't just rely on MLS. Follow up every time it sends an email. Number 5, gather all the information on your leads, and again, ask questions, take notes, put it in your CRM. That way, when you go and pull up somebody's profile, hey, this is their time frame. This is the kind of house they need. 3 beds, 2.5 baths, got to be in Bellevue, love a front, whatever it is. Then we know what folks are looking for, so that when we're following up with them, we can speak to those points. Develop your lead follow-up system now. Get those appointments set, that sort of thing. Action items for this week. We'll finish up with this. Write down in one place, follow up, hold yourself accountable. Call your leads, set an appointment, give us an update on your client event. 15 COI contacts, 15 handwritten notes, and 5 pop buys. So similar action items, but that's just what moves the ball forward in the real estate business. So guys, hope that helps. Thanks for tuning in. Follow up with your leads, categorize them, sort through them. This is the moneymaker. You talk to any agent that's on the top 20, top 10 at Hometown Realty, and this is what they do really well. And it's what we all can do better. So myself included. Thanks guys. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.